Hello, and welcome to Tales from the Grim on this very fine Sunday, the first of a few Sundays where you will find me here with a number of my friends, delving into the truth and the fiction of a world that we've called Skychasers. This is a 7th edition Call of Cthulhu game, although Cthulhu may not be behind all of the mysteries that we will be exploring. There are a number of ways for you to get involved in the game that you can see down below. Don't forget to hit the retweet and let people know we've gone live. This is the first ever show, and I am so excited to share this with you. We're in 1950s Americana. Flying saucer fever is sweeping the nation. Grace Kelly is the most beautiful woman in the world. James Dean, a rebel without a cause. And then there's our crew. Our crew finding themselves on a long road. Why don't we meet them? As we shift across. There are two vehicles in this convoy. A brand new dark-colored sedan driven by a copperhead woman known as Maggie. In the back of the sedan, Betty Thomas surrounds herself with case files from two large cardboard boxes. Behind her, the personal belongings and luggage have been loaded in to the trunk of the vehicle. Maggie is distracted. It's been a long drive. There's been this low background chatter in her brain that's been hard to switch off. She's turned on the radio. An Earth Angel plays this haunting doo-wop, ringing out. It's begun to rain, and the splatters hit the windscreen. It's dark, and it's been a while since there have been any headlights, save for those in the rearview mirror. The headlights of a large storm chaser vehicle driven by Captain Robert Dabrowski. His shoulders slightly slumped, no longer able to hold perfect posture. The road just continues on. On one side is a drainage ditch that drops down into trees, and on the other side of the road, endless fields, dark, full of corn and other crops that give no portrayal of any life beyond them. In the back of the storm chaser vehicle, sheltered in the armored belly of the beast, Chris Brubaker sits, perched on a box. Beside his worn brown leather shoe, a baseball card that he's dropped. The athlete's face stares up and out at him, bright, determined. But no one sees the athlete right now. Dr. Rhonda Nash is also in this vehicle. She's busy. There are new toys to play with. There is a lie detector, a very interesting machine which she has been tasked with using to complete the investigations, to close some of the files that Betty has been busy reading through. We return to this lead sedan, and Betty reading the case file. It's about a little town called Muddy, somewhere in Illinois, somewhere just down the road ahead. There was a body found. A girl in the road, blonde-haired, blue-eyed. No one recognized her. This in and of itself isn't unusual enough to warrant an FBI investigation, especially not by a team with such a special task. But the girl's blue eyes had been strange. Too blue. Bright blue, sky blue. And no one could identify her. No one knew where she had come from. Initially, they thought hit and run. It just didn't quite add up. And this question mark lingering over this mysterious girl is why the group make their way down this long road to the first of many cases. Maggie's eyes flick back to the road ahead, having watched briefly the lights of the storm chaser vehicle flicker as they pass a small bend. The road ahead is still dark, and you just see the flickering of your headlights catching the rain as it falls down, the rhythmic thump, thump, thump of early windscreen wipers, which only occasionally seem to work despite this vehicle being brand new. The song changes, And the man on the radio's voice cuts in and out as you lose signal. Maggie, I need you to make a drive roll.
Oh, okay. Let's see how this goes. Am I clicking the purple, the first?
The green button, please.
The green button. Okay.
Okay.
Fail.
So that is a fail. You barely see it in time to react in any way. 2 pinpricks of light staring back at you, reflected light. The eyes of an animal on the road. Your foot pushes hard down on the brake, but it's already too late as that impact. A body against metal. A thunk. The vehicle skids on the road and begins to slide across the wet surface. Robert, you're in a second vehicle following behind. I need you also to make a drive test.
All right. That is a fail by 3. Can I do anything to change that?
You can spend some luck points if you'd like, so it'll take 3 luck points to make that into an easy success.
I will spend 3 luck points.
Okay, so you just need to remove those. In this game, luck is permanently lost, so it is a finite resource for our players to improve their odds on the rolls they choose. So with that improved success, I'm going to say that you managed to see the swerve of Maggie's vehicle as it aquaplanes as she attempts to control it to keep from hitting something ahead of her. You manage to turn your vehicle into the other lane and pull it to a stop. Maggie, your vehicle is out of control. Betty, you are in the back. I need you to make something to brace yourself, some sort of dexterity check.
Okay.
I'm open to your bids on what you would like to use for this.
Can I just do like...
Charm is not going to work.
No, charm is not going to work. Dang it.
How about we'll just take a dexterity. Let's just take straight
dex. Yeah. All right.
As of course there are no seatbelts and you're sat in the middle of this bench.
Oh, did I click the wrong one?
Which one did you click?
The
It's fine.
one.
We take the top row.
Okay.
The top row is, let me just check. All right, the top row is your value. You rolled, I'm going to say a 52, I think.
Yep.
So that's a just about a pass on that one. So you reach up your hand, I'm imagining, to kind of brace yourself against the ceiling. The box on the other side of you kind of wedges you as you slide into it, and the car is moving quickly. Maggie, what are you doing as this vehicle is currently out of control?
Maggie's going to try and do the thing where you lean into the spin to try and bring yourself out of it. She just wants to bring it to a stop without rolling the car because it's brand new and also she'll never live it down.
Maggie, do you have any experience of high-speed car chases or difficult trips?
I think she would, but not as a driver. She's probably been in like the passenger seat or in the back when things like that have happened because of her CIA background, but she's never really been the driver.
Okay, so you'll lock onto the memory of how your driver responded in that situation when you made that roll for me.
Yeah.
Congratulations, everyone. You do have advantage. You all have 1 each.
Ooh.
Which you may spend as you like.
I may actually spend mine now then, in that case.
Okay.
To make sure that this goes well.
So that green button.
And roll again.
Yep.
Failed both times.
Did fail both times. You could spend 10 points to pass on that first roll if you'd like.
Yeah, I'll spend 10 points of luck.
Okay. All right. So you come into the spin, and for the briefest of moments, you think you're about to lose it as the end of the sedan goes off over towards that drainage ditch, and you feel as if the car's about to roll backwards, but it stops. And the whole thing kind of rocks ever so slightly. And then the back end touches down, and you pull up that handbrake, and you hold your feet down on the brake pedal as hard as you can, and the car is stationary. In the back of the Storm Chaser vehicle, you both feel this shudder as the car moves quicker than it has on this entire trip. Robert adjusting to avoid hitting the sedan in front. I'm going to say because of Robert's success that it's not big enough that it would have thrown you around, too much, but I would like you both to make a luck roll, please. Both Dr. Rhonda and Chris Brubaker. Pass from Chris.
Yeah, Chris succeeds.
Hard success.
Perfect. Rhonda, you feel it and you wedge yourself against the wall, your arms around the precious lie detector machine. And you are perfectly fine, perfectly braced. Chris, a number of your baseball cards fall from your pocket and scatter around your feet, and an arm goes up, and you keep a large box from toppling onto you. But now both cars are stationary. All agents, for now, are alive and well. What do you all do?
So Maggie probably kind of like, after taking a second, takes her hand off the wheel, will like peer back round her seat and look at Betty and be like, "You all right back there?"
Betty is wheezing heavily, just kind of bracing herself, and her hand is like on the door, ready to just eject herself from this car. I think so. Are you okay? What happened?
I don't know. We hit something. I didn't see it, and then there were, I don't know, it looked like eyes. I don't know what we hit, but we should probably have a look and check the others are okay. Stay here if you want to, but Maggie will get out of the car.
Robert would immediately get out, trying to get a jacket just over his head, just for the ease of the trying to stop the rain. Will rush forward towards the driver's side of the other vehicle just as Maggie gets out and asks, "Maggie, you okay? What's going on?"
I'm fine. I don't know. There was something in the road. I didn't see it, and we hit it.
Is Betty okay?
But I think she's okay. You might want to check on her. I'm going to see what we've hit. She said she was fine.
I'll take a glance at Betty just to check she's okay.
She's got a hanky, but she's fine.
Can I have a look just kind of to where she started the skid? Try and look back, see if there's anything around.
So looking at the road, you can see the kind of the slippery glide where these tires have moved across. And actually, why don't you make a spot hidden check for me?
Sure.
Spot hidden being the equivalent of perception in a Call of Cthulhu game.
Extreme.
On an extreme, what catches your eye is actually the front of the car. You notice fur and blood, and looking across the road, you see the rear end of what looks like a deer running across into the crop field.
I turn back around to Maggie and say, "Well, you were lucky. That deer could have totaled the car, so..."
Well, I guess, yeah. Is everyone in the van okay?
Yeah, I mean, Chris lost half his baseball cards, so...
Well,
I think he's okay.
We should probably get back on the road. Maggie is suddenly very aware she's standing in the rain without a jacket, and kind of gets back into the driver's seat of the car to keep herself dry. It's like, well, if you're ready to go, then I guess we carry on.
Ready whenever you are.
Maggie will shut the driver's side door, take a moment to fix herself in the rearview mirror, and then...
You feel a little pat on your shoulder, and Betty offers her cardigan. You're drenched through. Put this on. Keep you warm.
Thank you. And she'll kind of take it, and slightly reluctantly, but she's cold and wet, so she'll kind of drape it over her shoulders and try and start the car.
And Robert would just head straight back and into the driver's seat. Just check in with Chris and with Rhonda, just see if they're okay.
As soon as everybody would have left, Chris would have immediately, when the car settled and everything was safe, he would have dropped down to his hands and knees and begun searching for all of his lost cards. And he would have even turned, "Rhonda, could you help me?" And he's just looking around for all of them that he lost.
And Rhonda steadies the hard shell case of the polygraph and takes a knee next to Chris and starts collecting cards and hands him a stack about a half an inch thick.
Thank you.
Well, absolutely, Mr. Brubaker. You just let me know if you need anything else.
No,
And she returns to her seat.
He starts counting through. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Chris, why don't you make me a truth roll? Your specialist skill.
Fail.
Okay, you sort through the cards and you're relieved to see that they are all here. Between the 2 luck rolls of yourself and Dr. Nash, I'll say it's easy for you to find them all, and you being so familiar, it's easy to account for the presence of all of the cards. And luckily none of them are bent or damaged in any way.
All right, okay. All right. We're okay. We're all right.
We're good to go, yeah?
I believe so.
Great.
Yeah.
And Robert will sit back down in the driver's seat, and he'll wait as long as he needs for Maggie to right herself and get going again.
So Maggie, you're on a slippery and slick, steep slope right now, so you need to get the car started and get its wheels to find some traction to get it up onto the road. Maybe another drive test.
Yep. Success.
So, go ahead and describe to me how you get your vehicle back on the road and how Maggie drives the next mile or so.
So Maggie it's a couple of times to start the car, but it starts and she's relieved. And she takes a moment being like, please, just go. And very gently edges the car back off of that kind of bank, back onto the road. And she starts out driving quite slow, just to make sure that there's, she's not going to run off again on a patch of wet. And then she'll eventually, within the next couple of minutes, pick the pace back up. She carries on and just tries to keep a bit more of an eye out for the wildlife.
You'll notice as the car progresses that one of the tires feels off, possibly flat, possibly slowly deflating. It's an uneasy feeling. You're not super familiar with this vehicle or how it feels, but definitely compared to the miles between Boston and here, something's off with the cars, and it's probably the tires. That's the feeling you have. And Robert, I would say with your knowledge of mechanics, as you watch, you can see that one of the rear tires is just slowly deflating on the right side of the vehicle ahead of you.
Sure. Do we have like a little radio between us, like a little ham radio or something we can talk to each other with?
I'll say that you have like one of those like RV style radios. It's like you have to be pretty damn close. But yeah, you could have one of those so you can communicate between the 2 vehicles.
Cool. All right. I'll close the distance a little bit, even though it is slightly dangerous in this weather at this speed. But I will gain a little bit of distance. I'll ask Miranda, can you get on the radio here? Can you tell Maggie she's got a flat? We need to pull over now.
Rhonda takes the radio from the captain and Miss Davis, come in, please.
And Maggie kind of trying not to take her eyes off the road will fumble about for the radio. And there's something wrong with the car, I think, but I'm not sure. I don't want to pull over unless I have to.
We see that back here, Miss Davis. It would appear that you are losing air in your back left tire.
I'm going to pull over then.
That would probably be for the best.
Maggie will not even, she's too busy trying to fumble to put the radio back and just kind of lets it hang. Mm-hmm. And then we'll pull the car over and stop.
Okay. And you do so.
So
which side of the road do you pull to? Do you pull towards the kind of wooded with the ditch area, or do you pull towards the crop field side?
Whichever one has got a less steep bank, because it's wet and muddy and she doesn't want to have trouble trying to get out of the car again. Or trying to get the car
be on the other side by that's like a large cornfield that you've been running alongside.
Again, she'll give Betty back her cardigan because she doesn't want to get it soaked. Says, are you all right to stay here? I think we're going to have to deal with the tire.
I can hold down the fort. Yeah, don't worry about me.
And again, Maggie will get out, kind of like shivering slightly because it's raining, shut the car door slightly angrily and walk round to the back tire and give it a kick.
very
Maggie,
technical maneuver.
obviously, always. And she assumes that someone else will get out of the Storm Chaser vehicle to perhaps try and help her change this tire.
Yeah, I mean, Robert would get out, would ask Chris too to come along, give him a hand.
What? Oh, okay. And Chris would climb out.
Do we have a mechanics kit and a spare?
There would be a spare for the car in the trunk. It's probably buried underneath all your luggage.
Maggie has already started taking suitcases out of the back of the trunk so that we can get to the spare tire. Probably occasionally passing some stuff through to Betty so that it doesn't get wet.
Chris will come out with I was just gonna say, Chris runs up with an umbrella and holds it over Maggie, but doesn't help with the luggage. He just.
Well, and in that case, Rhonda has followed Chris and is helping Maggie with the luggage. I got your back.
Robert's going to go into the driver's position. Just make sure the lights are on, because we're on the opposite side of the road. So any oncoming traffic's going to have a hard time spotting us in the weather and the rain. So I just want to make sure that we're kind of safe against that.
Would you like to make a mechanical check to see if you can get this wheel situation sorted?
Yes, I would. Unless anyone else wants to lead. No?
Maggie probably knows how to change a tire, but actually doing it is a different thing.
All right.
You said mechanical check, right?
In the rain. Yeah.
Success.
Okay, so the difficult thing is getting that jack to sit right to start with, because the car is all wet and the road is slimy and it's just awkward in the rain with not very much light aside from the headlights that you've left on. But you eventually get it cranking. Does anyone help Robert with the cranking?
Maggie would probably help.
Okay.
She would get stuck in, rolls her sleeves up and just deals with the rain.
Perfect. So you help Robert crank this vehicle up. The tire is removed. That was the most difficult bit after getting the vehicle cranked up, is getting the tire off. The new tire goes on, no problem. You've done that 100 times before. And it's nice and new and it slots on. Nuts and bolts are done back up. Can you tell I've never changed the tire? And the vehicle seems ready to go. So you lower it back down to the tarmac of the road.
Can I have a quick, this is going to be a quick look at the tire in the rain, because I don't want to stay out here too long, but just want to check if it's actual slash or a puncture, something is in there or what? Okay,
how do you go about this? Is it specifically right there on the side of the road by the vehicle?
Yeah, I'm just kind of, I'll probably miss it, but I'm just wheeling it towards the trunk, just seeing if I can see it.
Okay, so let's use your mechanical knowledge again.
Oh, okay. Cool. Success.
Okay. So with that, you can see there's a jagged slice to the back of this. It's possibly caught something as it's spun out of control and gone down that ditch. It doesn't entirely make sense to you mechanically. How did that specifically happen? You were expecting more, the puncture would have made more sense. But this is a jagged slice in this wheel. And the wheel is definitely not patchable. That is the significant level of the damage.
He's just going to shake his head and put the tire into the trunk and, well, we should probably get moving again.
Rhonda will help load some of the luggage back into the truck before getting back into the Skychaser.
Charlie, do you know how far we've got to go before we get to our next kind of stop? Is it a motel that we're heading towards? Or
yes, you are heading towards a motel. It's one town over from Muddy, purely because it's actually a larger town and has a motel. Muddy itself does not offer a motel or a hotel that you could have stayed in. And that's about an hour to 40 minutes from where you are right now.
Okay. Yeah, I think we should get moving, pick up the pace a little, because otherwise we're going to be out here all night.
Sure. Do you want me to go in front for this leg? At least give you some respite from kind of
Oh,
navigating stuff.
Yeah, that would be great, Robert. Thank you.
No worries. Right. So let's get back in. We'll go, and then just follow us. I'll slow up for you to begin with, and then we'll get going. We'll pick up the pace.
Cool. Maggie will she'll turn to Chris, you're still holding like an umbrella over the back, I'm imagining.
Yes.
And just kind of pats from the arm. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, go get back into the dry. I'll be all right.
You'll be okay? Okay.
Yeah. She'll also give Dr. Rhonda a pat on the arm as well as like a thank you for helping with the luggage, and then we'll go get back in the car, turn to Betty and say, everything all right back here?
Yeah, no major catastrophes while the tire was being changed. It was, are you all right? You are soaked to the bone.
Oh, I've had worse. It'll be fine.
Right. Okay.
Maggie probably like pulls her hair back because it's soaking wet, like behind her, gets it out of their face and starts the car again.
Chris, as you turned away from Maggie with the umbrella you had been holding, a sharp gust of wind hammers this rainwater against you. It feels sharp and cold, almost like the early stages of hail, and the umbrella itself is turned completely inside out and nearly ripped from your grasp.
Jesus. He's gonna climb in.
The storm grows worse around you, and you hear it hammering against the outside of both vehicles as you slowly proceed down towards this town. And the road begins to wind more and more, no longer perfectly straight as it had been for a long time up until that first turn. And you weave between fields and trees, and then an earthworks, a mining operation of some description. You recognize only because lightning strikes nearby and illuminates the area, and you see the large mechanisms used for the operations there. And you are all reminded of an earlier trip to a mining town that vanished when a storm had grounded your plane, when you'd been forced to stay at a motel. The weather buffets hard against the storm chaser vehicle, which is a high vehicle, the wind trying to topple you and push you over. What do you all do?
Rhonda kind of braces herself against the side of the van and says, "My, it's like these storms just follow us."
At least we're on the ground this time. You don't have to land anywhere. We just kind of keep going. I've got another couple hours in me. We'll be fine.
The constant optimist, Captain Dabrowski. At least we're on the ground.
Yeah, you kind of have to be an optimist in my line of work.
Mr. Brubaker, how are you? Optimistic as ever?
Yeah, we're on the ground.
Over in the sedan, Maggie's probably put the radio back on again. Quietly annoyed that she's soaking wet, but we'll try and make small talk with Betty. Like, so find anything else interesting in the cases back there? Anything?
You would notice that since the storm has picked up and it's got a lot louder and like shakier in the car, Betty's gone very quiet and she's very intently reading file after file, just like very intently focusing on them.
Oh,
and...
Sorry, go. I forgot you don't really like these storms, do you, Betty? I remember the last case back in Virginia.
Yeah, no, they're not great.
It's want me to turn the radio up a bit more?
Yes, please. Yeah.
She'll, remembering how kind of jittery Betty was back at the mining town case, will turn the radio up as loud as Maggie can stand it until it looks like Betty has relaxed a little bit.
And chopping in and out is another song about dreams and angels, moons, and a man love-struck by some strange ethereal woman who refuses to look his way. You realize the song doesn't make sense after the first minute and a half, but you continue to allow it to drone, occasionally cut through by the storm. And in those moments, you get jaggedy noises from other stations, from other voices. And it makes for an eerie and uncomfortable experience. And Maggie, why don't you make like a listen? Yes, let's have a listen check.
Okay.
And Betty, you can make one as well.
That is a fail, but can I spend some luck to succeed on that? So it's
Yes,
by
you can.
4?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so you succeed. And it looks like... Okay, so it looks like on your first roll, Susie, you actually rolled a 46, so you could spend 1 luck point to succeed on that if you'd like.
Sure.
Okay. Perfect. So you're both listening, and for the briefest of moments, you're both convinced you hear your names. Betty, Maggie. Words that cut through the crooning of the song. And you turn a hard, sweeping turn that seems to go on, and it feels almost as if you're turning in a full circle. And you see just down below you the lights of the town ahead. In the Storm Chaser vehicle, Robert, you've been battling with this wind, focusing on the road. And it is probably a relief to your shoulder on this hard turn when you can finally straighten up and head into the straight to this town, which sits kind of astride the road that you are currently traveling on. There's debris being blown around, blustery chunks of crop and rubbish.
Seeing as we're like quite close to town, I think I'd slow down a bit just to be careful around the storm, make sure that Maggie is not too far behind, and then ask her, hey, guys, you'll have to tell me where Smeltel is, because, I'm concentrating on dodging these things, whatever they are. There's a branch going right the way over there.
Mr. Brubaker, perhaps you want to climb up front and help navigate.
Absolutely, sure thing. And he'll kind of squeeze up between the two captain's chairs and sit down. And he'll reach into... At first, he's going to reach into the glove compartment and pull out the collapsible, American road map. And I'm beginning the 12 to 15 minute unfolding process. And as soon as he gets a couple fields done, though, he's going to kind of look as if he's intently looking at the map, but he's going to begin cycling through the back of his baseball cards.
What is it that you're looking for, Chris?
He's looking for the motel.
Okay. Why didn't you make a roll and see if we can find you a motel?
What do you want me to roll on?
Well, are you relying on the baseball cards, or are you relying on having previously been told where this motel is?
A little of this, little of that, but probably he would fudge it and think that he's using the baseball cards entirely.
Okay, let's do... I was gonna say like a memory check. What would be the... Let's just do an intelligence check. I think that's fair.
Success.
Perfect. So on a success, you remember the name of this motel is called the Circle Motel. It was a nice simple sign to have ordered. And it is just literally down off this main street. And so you can easily find it. And you remember the name of the motel because the 0 keeps coming up on the back of those baseball cards. That 0, those perfect streaks, zeros, circles, perfect circles.
Perfect. Right down this way, Robert. Just down and just like to the right a bit. We should see it. It's the circle.
It's a circle. What am I looking for? A circular road? What?
It's the name. The motel is a Circle.
A Circle. Okay. And just follow the directions. Take the right. That's up the street, and hopefully we find it.
And you do. You see a golden illuminated neon circle. It flickers in the storm as the power of the town seems to be flickering too. You see the lights of many of the buildings going on and off simultaneously. There is a parking lot out the front. This is one of those motels that's kind of like an L-shaped strip. One bank of rooms with the main lobby at the one end, and the parking lot is kind of where it curls around. So you pull in, and Maggie follows. It's very hard to miss the storm chaser vehicle, even in this weather. And you pull in. The parking lot, for what it is, has only one other car in it at the moment. Otherwise, it is deserted. So it's not difficult for you to find a space near to the entranceway, or rather the foyer of this motel.
So I'll pull in quite lazily, rather than reversing or doing anything that might set us up for leaving or anything like that. Just kind of get it into near the front of the reception door and just like, I'm here now, we're done. Like, thankfully, we're kind of off the road now of the storm in a way.
Maggie will do the opposite. She'll come in and she will park so there's a car space either side of her, and park it with the car ready to exit. That's just like bits of her old training kind of coming back in that preparation. She'll get out of the car, and she'll open the door for Betty as well. And I imagine that the both of us walk out to where you've got like the balconies and the motels, like out of the rain. Maggie will stand and wait for everyone else to exit the other vehicle, and she'll light up a cigarette and start smoking.
The wind is very violent out here, and it is nearly impossible to light your cigarette as the wind just keeps ripping that flame away.
We do the thing where one huddles around the other, so Betty's got like a caddy up being like a little windbreaker so Maggie can get her cigarette lit.
Okay.
Yeah, Maggie will look at Betty and, thank you. Do you know if they've got us separate rooms or if we're all sharing again?
I don't know.
Fair enough.
Probably sharing to cut costs, I imagine.
Maggie does not look pleased at this prospect, but she'll wander over, like smoking her cigarette, closer towards the storm chaser vehicle and wait for everyone.
Betty, you were supervising the case files. Who did you write down as lead for this mission?
I think for this one, she would have put maybe Maggie as lead on this one.
Okay. Maggie as lead, you were given a packet which has your reservation for this motel. It's up to you if you've maybe passed that off to someone else somewhere during the trip to get here. But you would have had the packet with the information in.
I kind of imagine that maybe Maggie has passed this on to like Dr. Rhonda or someone that would have that isn't driving, that can go through it and have a look through everything. Because I imagine she's been the main driver of the sedan this whole way. So she would have given it to someone else to go through and check it all looked okay.
Okay, so we're not held up here sorting out your rooms too long. Rhonda, you go through the packet and you find that there have been 3 rooms booked for you.
Looks like we've got Miss Davis in her own room this time. Congratulations. Betty, you and I will be together, and the gents will be in their own room. I think we should go ahead and grab our luggage and get settled for the night.
The manager of the motel and his son help you move the luggage into your room. There's a lot of dashing between vehicle and door, and even occasionally the doors banging as the wind just forces them shut over and over again, even as you lift kind of heavy luggage to hold them open. But you are eventually settled and with your luggage in your rooms. What does everyone do tonight?
Maggie spends a good portion of the night standing out on the balcony, like that front bit of the motel, just observing, seeing how many people are coming in and out. Does anything look off? And it's not because she thinks that anything is wrong, it's just kind of what she does. Probably smoking a cigarette, and then eventually, because she has her own room, she doesn't have to wait for anyone else to go to bed first. She'll just go in, change out of her, she's probably changed out of her wet clothes already. If there is a small mini bar in here, she will probably help herself to something before going to bed.
Instead of a mini bar, there's like a cooler box type situation. That's obviously they were expecting to guess. They loaded it with ice, and there's like a couple of cans of pop floating around in there. And an apple, like a green apple, that sort of thing. The ice mostly melted by this point.
Yeah, she'll grab whatever's in there, alcoholic or non-alcoholic, and have something to drink, and then she will settle down for bed, relieved that actually this time she's got her own room. She can actually go to bed at a reasonable time. She doesn't have to wait.
And your room, you actually have view of the other two rooms. You're on the straight part of the L, while the others are on the angle adjacent, and you can see both the boys' and the girls' room and the lights within. Why don't we go to the boys' room? What are Chris and Robert up to?
I can only imagine that this is a laugh a minute in this room. That Chris and Robert they're about halfway through a case of beer. They're having fun. No, of course not. I would suspect there's dead silence. Occasionally, Chris, who's actually very fond of Robert, would ask questions that he already knows the answer to because he doesn't know how to make small talk that would be engaging. So a lot of, so it's a girl we're here to find, right?
Yeah. Weird blue eyes and stuff. Yeah. Rhonda knows the details. So. And he goes back to just smoking his pipe, looking out the window.
And then that would repeat probably every 6 to 7 minutes until someone went to sleep. And then every 15 to 20 minutes.
Robert keeps answering. Like it doesn't get irate. He doesn't get angry about the repetitiveness. This is, I think, something probably he's learnt to do with Chris, and it's just something. And in a weird way, the rhythm of it just kind of keeps him a bit calmer as he looks out into this storm. Just remembers all the different storms that they've been involved with so far, even in his previous career test piloting as well. He's probably been in a couple. Actually testing some aerodynamics in extreme weather.
Do you talk about the storm?
Yeah, I actually describe a little bit about a test flight to Chris about and trying to point out some stuff about the clouds, and if you get over a certain altitude, you can actually dodge the entire thing. Some of the views from down there. So it's not just eventually it's not just silence. And I think Robert's cracked open a beer as well, just a light beer, while he's finishing off his pipe. But yeah, actually going through the story of this test flight, just to kind of keep things fresh.
And Chris would pepper in information of the mathematical nature. At what altitude? And where were you, longitude and latitude, when you were doing this? Just getting anything that had data associated with it, listening to the story, but you can tell when he's queuing up a number related question. Yeah,
and Robert remembers stuff like that, particularly altitudes, and he knows a little bit about the aerodynamics of stuff, so he goes into a little bit of that detail.
And this is why Chris likes Robert.
Perfect. And in this room, of course, there are the two single beds, each with matching bedside tables. One of the bedside tables has one of those wind-up alarm clocks, which will ring obnoxiously if it's set. There's a small bathroom, which is mostly comprised of a shower and a toilet. There's the sink, but it's kind of like wedged into the shower cubicle, so it's all kind of part of one little wet area. And there is a small mirror as well, which has a couple of small like water spots over it. And then opposite that is a hanging rail for any clothing that you would want to hang, suits, etc., with a shelf above. And below that will be your area for your luggage.
I would hang up my sopping wet jacket, probably taking a hanger from there and actually putting it in the shower, just so it can like drain off.
Drip into the drain.
I'm sure at some point Robert would notice, but Chris would set the alarm clock to be 15 minutes and, if possible, 6 seconds behind the actual time.
Okay. You adjust the clock 15 minutes and 6 seconds behind the current time, which I will say is probably about 10 o'clock at this point. So it's currently 9:15 and 54 seconds, or no, 44 minutes past 9 and 54 seconds. There you go. Of the PM nature. The girls' room, Betty and Rhonda's room, is much akin to the gents' room, with the same shower setup, the tiny bathroom setup, small hanging area, 2 beds, 2 bedside tables, a mechanical alarm clock, this small cooler which contains some food, some drinks. Nothing particularly exciting, but at least it's cold.
Rhonda immediately tries to get Betty to get settled, saying, It's been an eventful day for you, Betty. Perhaps this will be a good time to take a rest.
Yes, I just need to finish up my journal. And Betty's an extensive journaler. She's always writing, even in the back of the car. And so she'll be like posted up on her bed, just finishing up her journal.
And so Rhonda kind of paces back and forth the length of the room as she waits for Betty to get settled. And
this is one of those rooms where you have a door and then this huge window which is covered by cheap curtains.
Rhonda stops at one point and opens up her green marble travel suitcase and takes out a nightdress that she lays out on the bed and just continues to pace.
Is everything all right? You're anxious.
Everything's fine. Miss Thomas, thank you so much for asking. It's just been a wearing day on all of us, hasn't it?
It has. If you need anything, I'll do my best to help.
No, I'm fine. You know me, just often restless.
All right. So Betty will finish up her journaling. She'll get changed into her nightgown, and she'll crawl into bed. And the last thing she does is she makes it's almost a ritual. Take off her locket that she wears, open it up for a little bit, look at it, and then put it on the bedside table before she heads to sleep.
And once Rhonda is convinced that Betty is asleep, she pats her pocket of her pants and reaches for a prized possession and takes a sip.
And it's about this time that lightning strikes nearby and the whole world seems to rumble and roll with the percussion of thunder that just bounces off the buildings on either side of this road. Did you unload the case files? Did you unload any of the sensitive equipment from the vehicles? Team.
The Lafayette instrument polygraph is still in the van.
I think we probably would have taken the case files, like we would have come back for them after taking the luggage, just because we wouldn't want to leave them in the bag. So,
and whose room are they in?
I imagine they're probably in mine because I've got less luggage, because the 2 other ladies have got both of their stuff, whereas I've got a room to myself.
Okay. Good to know. Chris, did you remove any special equipment or anything? Just yourself and your luggage? Okay.
And the cards, that's it.
Of course. Okay. Rhonda, you enjoy your nightcap as this thunder rolls around. Maggie, you are still awake at this point. Keeping watch, as you said, over the parking lot. And you actually see that spiked fork of thunder as it appears to strike down in a field. And then there is another, and it seems to be getting closer, this lightning, as it moves towards you. The wind is harsh and the rain is just relentless. It's nearly horizontal now, blown by the force of this storm. You see the lights are flickering, and Chris and Robert, you will experience this, the lights in your room flickering in the middle of your conversation about storms and test flights. How does everyone react to the storm?
Maggie is not too bad with the storms. She grew up in Virginia, so she saw some pretty bad storms, and it's not the harshest of environments that she's been in. But it takes her back. It reminds her of some of her CIA work and some of the places she was in where the weather was bad, and she absentmindedly, while kind of smoking the cigarette, is just running her fingers along the scar that's on the front of her right forearm, just thinking back to that. And we'll stand and watch the storm, almost calming, because for a bit it reminds her of home, and then she'll stub out the cigarette, and that's when she goes in and gets changed and goes to bed.
Who here in the 40s would have been around artillery fire, bombs, similar? Okay, I need all three of you. We'll still call this a sanity check, to make a sanity check, as this storm rages its own war against this little town. I will allow you to use the advantages chat has given you if you wish.
Yes,
but
please.
no luck or push rolls. Okay.
So just roll twice, yeah?
Yep. Let's roll again.
Extreme
so
for Chris.
Extreme success for Chris. A success for Susie. Okay, and a hard success. All three of you, for a moment, as that second lightning strikes and the thunder immediately follows, are back in another place, in another time, when that boom meant something very, very bad. Still threatening, still dangerous, but man-made threat, man-made danger, a time of high stress. None of you re-experience that stress now, but those scenes and those associations will be fresh in your mind as the storm continues to swell around you. Does this affect anyone's sleep?
I think Robert has that amazing thing that commercial pilots or military men as well can just do, which is pretty much just sleep standing up if they need to. So it's probably not the best night's sleep, but at least he's, fairly well off in the morning.
Chris would try to put on a brave face, and as soon as he knows that Robert's drifted off into that twilight sleep that he has, every time that the thunder would hit, he would shake as it hits, and for as long as it lasts, he would not be sleeping. And he would be turned away from Robert, and tears would be rolling out of his eyes as he hears it go off, and he would just rock in his bed as it goes off again.
Yeah, Betty would be very similar, actually, but she would just curl up, ball up as small as she could get on her bed, and ball the pillows over her head to just try and get rid of the sound, trying not to hear it, so she wouldn't be having a good night's sleep at all during this storm.
Probably unrelated to the storm, but Maggie probably has an awful dream about the New York case. That kind of I imagine there's some low rolling thunder. At some point she, it gets into her mind, and it reminds her of the sound of the train coming into the station. And
yeah, you dream about that train coming into the station, of the bridge above, the man. You dream about eyes on the road in the storm, bright eyes staring at you, and in both that impact, and it jolts you awake, and as you fall back asleep, it begins again, and again, until over and over you're dreaming about impact, violence, death, eyes in the night, your name on the radio, the man, and all of the words from the paper, words that Chris has probably gone over 100 of times, analyzing the code, looking for the code, and that is your nightmare for the night. Rhonda, you have yet to go to sleep. As the storm literally shakes the motel, you hear the slight chiming of that mechanical alarm as it upsets the hammer that would ring between the two bells.
And it's morning?
It's definitely approaching morning. It's been going all night. The sky is still a weird bright gray yellow color. But yeah, it's grown to morning. Unless you tell me otherwise.
I've spent the night between pacing and revisiting my flask and making some doodles in my journal, word association and stream of consciousness. And at some point I noticed Betty curled up and cocooned in her covers. So I sit gently on the side of her bed and just put a hand on her back, stare off into the room at nothing, and just wait for the actual alarm to go off, signaling morning.
And it does. And about 15 minutes and 6 seconds later, you hear the alarm go off in the next room as the men's alarm sounds. And Maggie, your alarm goes off around the same time, I imagine, as Dr. Rhonda's and Beth.
Yeah, Maggie's an early riser. She's definitely up early. She likes to be the first one ready to go.
Okay. And as you emerge from your motel rooms, ready for the day, the storm is eking out. It's still raining, but it's eased. There's no more lightning and thunder, at least. The sky is that weird murky bright color of a storm, and the parking lot has just collected debris. All kinds of debris have just been blown against this building, and kind of it grabs onto the concrete and cement. Where do you all go and what do you all do?
And Maggie is lead on this case, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Maggie, probably, are we staying at the motel for more than the one night? Is this where we're at while we're going over to the other town?
This will be your lodgings for your case and muddy, yes.
Okay. Maggie will then she'll probably go down and check over the car because it was too dark and too rainy last night to really look and see if there was any real damage done. But she'll want to go round to the front end of the car and start having a look. How bad is it dented?
Okay. So make a spot hidden check for me.
Okay. It's a fail.
Okay. The storm has done what it can to basically wash this car from the face of the earth. It's cleared away a lot of the blood and the fur that had been in here that Captain Robert had noticed. You still see kind of traces in the grill where it's been hard for the storm to take it off. There is a definite dent in that bumper, a slight bend and warping to it. You're unable to kind of tell if there's much more significant damage beyond that. You know that the car worked last night, and the tires appear fine this morning, so perhaps it was just that back one that was damaged.
Cool. Does this motel have like a restaurant area or anything like that? Like a little
no, that isn't. But you would be able to see kind of across the road, like a block down, it's like a diner cafe type establishment.
Maggie will go and knock. If no one else has yet come out of their rooms, she'll give it a little bit and then go and probably knock for the ladies first to see if they want breakfast.
Can I have headed out, just out to the front of the lobby and then seen Maggie checking the car out?
Mm-hmm.
Just to share with her the slash on the tire. I can't make it out. It's I expected like impact, like a puncture, something in it. something from the road, but it looks like something really got in there and tore it up, and it just is not consistent with the crash you kind of had, the deer or anything like that. I just don't get it. It's completely the wrong tire. It's completely the wrong kind of slash and such. I don't know what to make of it.
It couldn't have been from when the car nearly rolled. It could have just ripped.
I mean, maybe.
Well, it could have been glass on the road or something else there. There's debris everywhere during the storm, so...
Yeah, I guess it could have been anything.
I mean, we can drag it out if you want to have a look at it, but...
I mean, what's it really going to do? We should probably try and find a new spare, though, in town, if we can.
Well, I was thinking of grabbing everybody, going into the diner, having breakfast.
Oh, yeah. I got a hankering for some pancakes.
We should probably go over some of these case file notes before we move out today.
Yeah.
Well, you wanna grab Chris, and I'll go and grab the ladies?
Sure.
And that's when Maggie will head up and go and knock on the door for Betty and Rhonda.
Yeah, I'll knock on for Chris as well.
Betty is like as fresh as a daisy, or she looks like it. She's taken a lot of care to make herself look like she hadn't had a very rough night. She's pristinely dressed, hair is beautifully done, makeup in place, and she's like, "Good morning, Maggie."
Oh, morning. Breakfast at the diner? And you notice Maggie, who's normally fairly prim and proper, always wears like a shirt and like trousers. The shirt hasn't been ironed. It's a little bit kind of disheveled. She's got the sleeves rolled up so you can see the scar along her forearm. She hasn't bothered much with her hair. She's probably brushed it and that's about it, but she looks like she hasn't slept very well. And is a little bit alarmed at how kind of bright and cheery you are this early in the morning. It's like, breakfast, me and Robert are hanging over. He's gone to get Chris. I don't know if Dr. Rhonda wants to come.
And I'm folding up my sleeping gown that was sitting on the bed and tucking it back into my suitcase. I'm ready whenever you all are.
Well, I think we're all heading over now. So, Betty, have you still got the case files for that case, or did you put them back in the box in my room?
I believe they're in the box.
I'll go and get them and meet you over there then.
All right.
Maggie will go and grab the case file for our current case from the box file.
And that isn't too difficult for you to do. The only thing that should be noticed about this is as you pull this file out, it having been with Betty when the car went through the incident on the road, is the paperwork is all kind of out of order and it's kind of been shoved back in. And then obviously in the scramble to get from the car to the motel, that wasn't really taken care of. And as you do this, you see the photograph, just the top half, blonde hair, kind of loose and matted, and these two eyes. It's black and white, but there is something strange about those eyes. The contrast between the irises and the whites is just too low. It's almost as if it's all white with these two tiny pupils staring out at you.
Maggie will probably kind of, it's almost like a double take, and she'll stare at the photo for a bit and then kind of put it back in the case file, close it, and will, grab her jacket again and kind of sling it over her shoulder and then head over, like using it to keep the case file dry, and head over to the diner with everyone else.
And you all assemble in the diner unless anyone has anything else they'd like to do first. Okay. The diner is one of these brand new style diners with chrome detailing, faux leather booths, bright lights, and a loud jukebox. The waitress's hair is all perfectly pinned. Bright red aprons are tied around their waists. And they take your order. And on the table in little uprights is a display of the jukebox menu. They're very proud of their record collection here. Little numbers and names. What does everyone have for breakfast?
pancakes.
Pancakes.
It's going to be, pancakes with bacon and maple syrup.
Mm-hmm.
Scrambled eggs for Chris.
Okay. Scrambled eggs. What about you, Dr. Nash?
Dr. Nash has grits and coffee, but she mostly just pushes the grits around the plate.
The grits are pretty disappointing here as well. This is not a grits kind of town.
I think
Yeah.
Betty has eggs and puts too much pepper in them, and a cup of tea.
Okay. The tea definitely gets a response, and there's a lot of attention paid because you have this British accent. They have a lot of questions about it. They have friends over in England who know their boyfriends. It's all the kind of thing that you've been through 100 times since moving here. And you are assembled at this table, case file brought by Maggie, breakfast in place. What's the plan for today?
Well, Maggie, what's the plan for today?
Well, I'm thinking that we go over to the town. I'm assuming that we start at the morgue. I'd like to take a look at this body that they found. See if it really is as strange as everyone is saying. You know how quickly these things can be blown out of proportion, especially with the local police. And then we investigate where it was found. But I think seeing the body first, and let's just confirm that something is strange here and it's not just something medical.
Charlie, what all is included in the case file that we have, aside from the picture?
Yeah. So in the case file is the picture of the girl and the location she was found. And it's on the edge of a road just off of the main road that runs through Muddy. There is also a description of the girl, her statistics. Approximate age is put between 16 and 18. There is bruising on her body, which could be in line with a hit and run or a high impact. It's particularly over kind of her ribs and main torso area. There's also an account given by a Mrs. I lost her name. It's Mr. by a Mr. Ira, who offered no last name, just wanted to go by Ira. So the writer of this account has put Mr. Ira, by Mr. Ira, which says there was a tornado that went through town, and that is what dropped the girl here. But this is the only account of such a phenomena. No one else seems to have reported a tornado or a girl getting dropped. The girl was found by Mrs. Florence Eastling, who goes by Flo, and she was shaken and disturbed by the sight. She'd never seen a body before, and that's much of what is. This seems to be like a dictated kind of thing. They've typed up exactly what was said, and she just goes on about not seeing a body before. She speculates it could be the child of one of the migrant workers. They have a lot of migrants in to work the farms at this time, but she's never seen the girl before. And as far as the local police goes, no one has come forward to claim or identify the girl.
Well, I think we start at the morgue. We check out the body, make sure that this isn't all of the strange things they've been talking about isn't just something medical, and that it isn't just a hit and run case that's open and shut, because I don't want to waste our time. And then I suppose we each go and talk to these witnesses. I would be very interested in finding out the circumstances in which she was found, and seeing if this Mr. Ira really does believe that it was a tornado that brought her through, or perhaps he's spinning this as a sensational story. You know what these back towns can be like. Anyone have any objections, suggestions?
If we're thinking about splitting up the troops and dividing and conquering, then I would be interested in speaking to Mr. Ira as well.
Absolutely. I don't know if it'd be best to split us all up entirely. I, for myself, would like to see both of these witnesses and make sure that nothing strange is going on here, but Talking to the local police might be useful as well. They may know something. There may be something unconnected, perhaps. If this wasn't a hit and run, maybe she was murdered and left here. Suspicious cars coming through. Let's check out all of the usual leads first before we assume that anything is odd.
Well, I have plenty of experience in dealing with police, so I can do that.
That may be best. They don't tend to like dealing with me. I say we finish up here and head straight out unless anyone's got anything else they need to do.
Robert puts his knife and fork in the middle of the finished plate and kind of taps his belly a little. It's like, now's the time, I guess. Let's go.
And at that, Maggie will, probably being the lead in this case, will put the money down for the bill and start making her way out. Kind of pausing for everyone else to get up off the table.
Do you take both vehicles to Muddy? Are you all going to go into one vehicle?
I think
your vehicular plan.
I think we should take both, because I think that the storm chaser vehicle might attract the wrong kind of attention for the police, or at least Mr. Ira. So.
And as you come out of the diner and you walk down the block towards your motel across the road, you see the motel owner is stood beside the storm chaser vehicle, along with a man that you don't recognize, and they seem to be having a conversation.
Are they paying particular interest to the vehicle, or they just happen to be stood
Yeah,
by
it seems like they are both very interested in this vehicle. They're kind of pacing around it, rubbing their chins. You would guess from their body language it's kind of like a speculative conversation that's going on.
Maggie will kind of drop back in her pace to get next to Robert and say, hey, do you want to maybe go and move them along? Because the last thing we need is too many people asking questions.
Sure. Yeah. And Robert would approach, and just from behind, hopefully without them having noticed first, we'll just ask, can I help you, gentlemen?
Good morning, Mr. Dabrowski. Did you sleep well?
Well as I could.
It's a mighty fine vehicle you have here. I mean, gee whiz, I ain't never seen anything like this before.
Well, thank you. Charlie, do they know why we're here?
They have no idea unless you tell me that you told them last night why you're here.
No, okay. Well, we're on some official business, so if you wouldn't mind looking too close.
Oh, of course. I just never seen it. Have you ever seen anything like that, Clint? And the other guy kind of, I ain't ever seen like that. And he's like chewing, and you can tell there's like a wad of like chewing tobacco going on there. It's like a very squelchy sound.
Robert starts to fill up his pipe again, and says, "Yeah, you don't seem very busy. What's the? Is it the weather, you think, or just off season?"
Yeah, it normally picks up around here in I don't know, late July, early August. People like to head this way for fall. It's a nice time.
And just body language wise, I'll be starting to put myself between him and the van, and then kind of trying to move him away, like, but still talking, still kind of just.
The manager is pretty easy to body language persuade to step away. Clint is definitely still very interested. His eyes are like down on the tires. He's like looking it over. He's only half listening to whatever you two are talking about. You can hear the scratch of his chin as he kind of runs his fingers over the stubble. And that cow chud kind of noise as he chews.
So Maggie will probably be watching to see if these guys do move away. And if this guy still looks too interested in the vehicle, she might go over and try to draw his attention. Is that what it looks like? Is he still...
He's still very interested in this vehicle. And even as you look over, I think he will look up and he kind of meets your gaze.
Maggie's...
And see him kind of push the chewing tobacco to the other side.
Maggie will smile and she will head over And as if she's going towards the captain, and she'll walk up and say, Captain, are we ready to move out soon? I'm really eager to get going. And she'll kind of look over at this other guy and kind of smile.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
Gentlemen, it's lovely to meet you. I'm so sorry to steal the wonderful captain away from you. I'm sure the conversation is very engaging, but we have got some business to attend to.
All yours, ma'am, all yours. The manager kind of is retreating back towards the lobby, like, come on, Clint, leave him alone.
I would say chat, fellas, but she's a tough boss, so.
She'll kind of nod to the manager and she'll say, Mr. Clint, it's lovely to meet you. And smile in the hopes that he kind of feels a little bit pacified and the focus is shifted off of the van and onto her a bit.
And you possibly regret having the focus shifted to you as he hears Robert calls you boss, and he kind of tuts at Robert and then kind of spits whatever he'd been chewing down to the floor by your feet.
Mackie draws herself up, looks at what he's just spat at the floor, and she's just gonna dead stare him with that. Do you really want to do that again? Look.
Why don't you make me an intimidation roll?
Yes.
I'll back her up a little bit with kind of looking at him in like a kind of, what's that for? Like.
But she's like shoulders back in that very like, it's almost like CIA agent days where she goes back to her very poised but really, really frosty attitude.
And I'll say because Captain Robert's backing you up, it's going to make it slightly easier for you.
That's that. Did I click the right? I'm sure I just clicked the right button.
Yeah, that looks right to me. And you rolled a hard success. So Clint actually takes like a step back. All right, then I'll go in. And he looks between like you and Robert and gives you a queer kind of a look. But he moves off and away.
She'll probably say something along the lines of like, I do forgive you for your accident there. And that smile that says, I know exactly what you did. And she will stand there until he leaves. And only then will she turn to Robert and be like, why do they always have to be such assholes?
Small towns, huh?
She walks past, like taps the front of the storm chaser vehicle and goes round to the sedan.
Charlie, during that exchange, is there any way that Chris could have figured out, remembering cars that they had in the lot whenever they pulled in last night and to this morning, to see if he could identify any of the vehicles as belonging to perhaps Clint or the manager?
You do see there is a beat up, rusty kind of pickup truck that's obviously been fairly weathered. It should be much newer looking than it is. Vehicles only just really becoming fairly common recently, but this thing looks like trash, and there's like a tarp over the back of it. But it appears dry, which is why you would suspect this has been driven up recently, because the rain has only just stopped. And so you suspect that would probably be Clint's.
Chris would then, he would, whatever the alphanumeric would be for the license plate, any other, features that he could easily commit to memory, he would lock them all away.
Okay. Why don't you make a spot hidden check for me?
Sure. Success. Okay,
the thing that catches your eye is that you think this car has been repainted. There's a scuff on it, and underneath it looks like white paint, and over the top is this reddy browny colored paint.
He regardless of what he has been told to do or whoever's looking, he would immediately begin to creep over towards that area. And while he's not going to kneel down in front of the truck, he's going to eyeball height of this, like from the ground, the clearance to this dent, everything that he can kind of glean from it mathematically.
Okay, you kind of take that all into consideration. This is, you would say, in line with it could be a low wall, could be a good comparison for where it is height wise. It could be, the middle of a person. maybe like a fire hydrant, like a fairly high, maybe more like a mailbox, like one of the metal style mailboxes, that kind of thing. It's that sort of level. But it just appears mostly like a scuff, just taking off a little bit of the paint.
Okay, he would just mark that level from ground clearance or from the ground to the scuff, and I can roll something if you'd like to get it exact, but that's all he's trying to do is just try to triangulate. So
I'll say that you could probably like make a mental note of that.
Okay.
I don't have a specific number to give you right now, but yeah, I will say that you know exactly
right.
that information.
Cool. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. Does anyone else like to do anything during this exchange? Betty?
I don't know if I do it during this exchange, but I definitely before we leave, she wants to get a photograph of everyone with the storm chasing truck. But it's mainly an establishing shot of where we were and things that are in the car park, like of the motel, just with the guise of taking like a group shot. So she's lined everybody up in front of the truck, and
yeah. I'm imagining you're going to do this around the, let's see, it'll be around the back of the vehicle because Captain Robert drove straight in. You're kind of around the back. You get the nice L. You can easily see your rooms. You get the pickup truck, the other vehicle that's in the parking lot that was here last night.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you can take that. You won't know how that... actually, why don't you make a photo check and we'll see...
Yeah, I could do that.
So for when you develop this later, we'll see how it turns out.
Okay.
It's not too difficult. You've got natural light. You've got time. You're not rushing.
Oh, cool. Could I use one of my advantages?
Sure.
No, it doesn't matter.
So you take this picture, and you believe you've got the picture.
Mm-hmm. God damn it. It's like my one job.
So just make a note for when you do develop that later that there's something not right with that picture. She's got her finger over it. She didn't take the lens cover off. Yeah.
Robert blinked.
Robert blinked. You got distracted by some shouting, that sort of thing. All right, so you've got your picture. Everyone loads into the vehicles. Who's in which? Just very quickly. Who's driving the sedan?
It's probably Maggie. Again.
Maggie? Betty, you in the sedan again? Okay. Evelyn, sorry, did you have anything that Dr. Nash did during the exchange or before we leave?
I'd say she's not very helpful when it comes to any sort of physical altercations. So I'd say while Maggie was dealing with Clint, she kind of just stood on the perimeter of that. She definitely is there to, support her teammate, but also knows how she can be beneficial and how she can't. And as soon as that was done, she's climbed into the storm chaser and is sitting in the back seat, just flicking the clip on the case of the polygraph, just kind of nervously flicking it up and down.
And Chris, you get done checking out the pickup, and do you go into the storm chaser or the sedan today?
He'd always be in the storm chaser.
Okay. Perfect. And I'm guessing, Robert, that means you're driving again.
Looks like I'm driving again.
Lucky you. So you set off, and the Muddy is literally 45 minutes down the road. It takes you next to no time. And the day is brightening up around you. The sunlight kind of glistens off of all of the puddles. And the sky turns a bright blue. And you see the golden sheen of the corn that's developing, just busting out the top of the green. The stalks. This is a very early crop that you're seeing, and that's slightly strange to you, but also agriculture. So you kind of continue pushing down, and you pass the sign, and it's Muddy, population 1,234, and then you see there's actually a line through that, and next to it has been written 594. The population of the town has apparently halved, and the sign has been updated by someone to reflect that. Whether that is legitimate or someone applying some American graffiti, who knows?
just clarify, it's graffiti, that style, rather than an actual paint.
It appears to have been painted in white paint.
Okay.
And there is no kind of name or illustration. It's just a straight line through the original number and the new number painted on.
Are we going straight to the morgue?
Yeah, that's where Maggie's. I assume Maggie's in front because she's got the car that's ready to pull straight out. But yeah, the morgue is the first place she wants to go. She wants to see the body.
And this is a town that literally just kind of runs straight along this road. It's even smaller than the one that you just left. The first thing you pass is a garage gas station combo, which has a couple of vehicles, has a couple of pumps, and the mechanics equipment there. Along from that is kind of a cafe diner. There's a shop and a hairdresser's. And then at the other end of the town, there is a bar, opposite which is the police station.
This is Maggie will park up where she can, and assuming that Robert is close behind, will get on the radio and Captain, I'm pretty sure I remember that the morgue is attached to the police station in this town, so if we can pull up around here and head on in.
Yeah, no problem.
Maggie will pull up right outside the police station in the sedan.
Okay.
I think Robert would pull up on the street, just park up.
Mm-hmm.
2 tires firmly on the sidewalk. Try and
there's
shrink the profile of the car a little bit.
There's a couple of other cars like along the main street. But it's a pretty quiet town, and looking around, you can just see like farms the other side, and then down the road you can see the earthworks that you passed not that long ago, just kind of in the distance beyond the farms. It's a mining operation. Large kind of cranes and heavy vehicles.
Maggie gets out of the car, opens the door for Betty as usual, and waits kind of milling outside the front of the police station for everyone else to disembark.
Okay. Who's going to go and see the body? Betty? Maggie?
Maggie will give people a choice. She will say, if anybody doesn't want to see this, I know the photos are pretty disturbing. If that's enough for you, then please feel free to bail out now.
I've seen my fair share of bodies.
I believe I have some experience that might lend itself in this situation, so I'll go as well.
Robert gives Maggie a kind of slightly somber, sheepish look, just starts packing his pipe and just kind of hangs around near the driver's door of the chaser.
Captain, if you prefer, perhaps you could speak to some of the officers in charge and see if this girl had any belongings that they managed to recover. Maybe see if we can get some of her clothing for evidence.
Sure, yeah. I'll get a rundown from the cops and then any evidence.
So Maggie will then head into the police station and find what I'm assuming is the desk sergeant. I think they have those.
Mm-hmm.
I know how American police work.
Yeah, so there's okay, actually let's do this as a team. Susie, give me one physical attribute for this desk sergeant.
He is a white male.
Okay, white male. Rhonda, tell me something about this desk sergeant.
He's got a twitch in his eye.
Right, it's twitchy eye. Chris, or Greg, something about this desk sergeant, if you please.
He's one of those types of people, much like myself, that begins a sentence and then redirects and starts a new sentence. So he'll turn around, hey Jim, hey everybody, how are you? That's what he does. He just breaks sentences.
Right. Maggie, what do you notice about this sergeant?
He's a little bit younger than you would expect him to be. So where you'd expect to see a man maybe in his 30s, he's clearly in his mid-20s.
All right, so there's this young man behind the desk. His hair is overly oiled and slicked back. He's clearly attempted like a James Dean kind of quiff situation. It's all just kind of sagged on him. There's a tiny bit of acne still clinging onto his cheekbones. And he's busy sorting through his files. You hear him start a sentence, move on to another sentence. He doesn't seem to be paying that much attention to you as you come through the door, which is fairly, just a fairly simple, normal door. No kind of heavy-duty police security to it.
Good morning, Sergeant.
Oh, good morning. And then we did this, and then, where did I leave that?
I'm sorry to interrupt you from your work. My name is Agent Maggie Davis, and this is the rest of my team. Ms. Thomas, Mr. Brubaker, Ms. Nash, and Captain Dabrowski. We are here to investigate the Jane Doe.
Nice to meet you. Haley, where's the... you said Jane Doe? I don't think I know a Jane Doe. Captain? Mister?
Doctor, actually.
Doctor? Haley! And he's like calling for someone. You get the impression he's slightly out of his depth. There's this blush kind of rising up from his neck, and filling his cheeks.
We can wait, Sergeant. Please don't worry yourself.
Oh, I'm not worried. I'm just, And then he gets distracted by the radio. There's like this crackling noise. But it's just yeah, exactly. It's like this cracky noise. And he just looks over and as if he's waiting for a voice, and there's no voice. He kind of just scowls at electricity's on the fritz again. Haley, where are you? Did you have a good journey, agents? Because you're not from around here, right?
No, we're not.
No, I didn't reckon I'd seen you before.
The storm was pretty bad last night, but we made it through.
Oh, you were out in the storm. Yeah, that was a real bad storm.
Do you get them often here?
Well, it's a little early in the year, but it happens.
Just out of interest, have you had any tornadoes around here recently, or any kind of large storms that have lasted only maybe a few hours a day?
A few hours a day. Haley! I don't know. I don't think we've had like anything like that this year, a tornado, like a full tornado.
Just out of curiosity, that's all.
And you see his eye is twitching like crazy, especially since the tornadoes were mentioned. And Rhonda, being a psychologist and very astute to people's natures, you get the impression tornadoes make him very uncomfortable. And this is being drummed into you by the pencil that is over and over hitting the paper in front of him. And his eyes keep darting to that radio, waiting for the voice that never comes.
Sergeant, is it?
Yes,
Doctor.
Doctor.
Someone else here with you? You keep calling for this Haley, but nobody seems to be coming. You man in the station alone.
Miss Haley's the sheriff's wife. She normally sits here. I said I'd look after it for her, but she didn't come back yet.
I see, and that's a lot of responsibility to be put on your shoulders, ain't it?
Normally I just keep the files in order.
Oh. And Miss Haley, how long has she been gone?
Oh, I'd say right about what time is it now? He looks up towards the captain and then Chris, assuming they would have a watch on them. And not having a time.
Chris gives him the time that is exactly 15 minutes and 6 seconds behind whatever it currently is.
Oh, and then about I don't know, like a half hour, I guess.
And when do you expect the sheriff to be back?
Oh, the sheriff's not due in today. I guess I should call him, huh?
That might be best.
Charlie, is this a CB radio that he's listening to, or like a traditional civilian?
Oh yeah, this is like a CB radio.
Okay, Chris would
the kind
like
that
to
would have like another radio calling into it. Yeah.
Right. So this would probably have some type of dialed in frequency. Chris is going to make a note of whatever that frequency is, because if it is a police band frequency, they can tune in on their CBs in the car. So he's going to look and see what that is. And if given the opportunity, as this is the desk that this kid is apparently not normally stationed, he wants to see if there's a sign in log for anybody that's come into the station and see if he sees any names at all, and he's going to record.
So there's actually like a form that's sat on a clipboard with a pencil attached to a piece of string, kind of set up, and you can see there's just no names on that front page. There's the indentation of maybe there had been like a name or two on a previous page. That page is no longer here. This is today's page, and there's nothing on it.
Is there a pencil around?
Yeah, there's a pencil and a piece of string attached to this clipboard.
He's gonna, if he's if he gets a chance, this would be, I'm assuming, a roll here. He's gonna try to do the old highlight the names with the rubbing, to see if he can make anything pop. He doesn't care about. He's not socially acceptable or does things that are.
He's not so worried about being subtle.
Yeah, he's just gonna go ahead and do it, and he's gonna try to not interrupt more so than make it sneaky. He just doesn't want to interrupt the group.
Sure. What sort of role should we make this? If you're not worried about him saying it, you're just worried about doing the thing without destroying the item in the process. We'll do like another intelligence test just to make sure you don't, because you just got to be aware that you don't push too hard to do it, basically.
So just straight intelligence?
Yeah, unless you have a skill that you think you'd like to use.
I'd like to use cryptology if all possible. The deciphering of code.
That makes sense to me. Yeah. Yeah, if you ever have a skill that you think's better, just shout it out at me and we'll. No. Extreme success. Yeah. So you just gently take that pencil, push it over, and you see the name Ira Hobbs come up. And next to it, there's like a description for why they're there. And it's drunk and disorderly has been scribbled in. And the date is from last week.
Charlie, does
Yes.
how much kind of jurisdiction would Maggie or any of us have here? Because she is FBI and everyone else is essentially working for them.
So basically, jurisdiction, local people get very upset when FBI come in and tell them they're taking the jurisdiction away. But if you have the case file in front of you and you dump it and you push, you get jurisdiction. Is kind of how it goes. You'd be like, you can call my boss, but that's going to take you 45 minutes of your day, that kind of exchange.
So Maggie is probably willing to wait maybe another 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And during that time, if nobody shows her through to the to see the body like she's asked, she will just turn to the. I mean, does anyone come in during that time? Because if not, she's just gonna.
This kid at this desk is on his own, and he's getting more and more flustered as this goes on. He literally keeps rubbing the eye to try and stop it from twitching because he's noticed how extreme it's getting.
Maggie will give it the 10 minutes, and she's probably smoking because you could smoke inside in the 50s. And eventually she will stub it out and say, Sergeant, I respect that you're here by yourself. And she will pull her, I'm assuming she has a badge or some form of identification. She will show it and say, I'm going to make my way through to your morgue. If that's a problem, please go ahead and phone the sheriff. I'm sure I will be more than happy to talk to him, but we do have a lot of work to do today.
Wow, that's some serious brass. I thought you said you were here about the tornadoes. I didn't know you were here to see her.
Well, the Jane Doe, yes, we're here to see her.
Oh, you know her name. That's great. It's been scratching our heads trying to figure that one out for weeks. Well, I say weeks.
Sergeant, you do know what a Jane Doe is, don't you? Or a John Doe?
There is a very audible British sigh that comes from Betty.
I hadn't managed to pitch in yet. I was totally just going to be like, this kid's about it. He doesn't know what a Jane Doe is.
I mean, I heard of bucks and does. Do Jane and John, are they married? Is that her father?
Sergeant, I'm about to teach you a real important lesson in your line of work. If you do not have the name of a body, if that body is female, she is a Jane Doe. If that body is male, he is a John Doe. I advise that where you're at, you should probably look into these things. It will save you a whole lot of time the next time somebody else comes knocking.
You know, she don't real look like a Jane. More like an Eve, but I'll remember that, ma'am. Thank you.
I'm gonna make my way to the morgue now. Like I said, if anyone has any issues with this, please feel free to phone the sheriff.
Okay, it's just down the corridor. You take a left. But
She's already started walking. This is probably. I imagine it's a bit signposted, and she's just like,
"Thank you, ma'am."
Come on.
And he's gonna like look to Betty and Chris, whoever's like in the end of the file. Should I call the sheriff now?
You should absolutely call the sheriff, dear.
Okay. And he goes to the radio and he like pops himself out. Sheriff, sheriff, and it kind of just crackles back. Is that you, Zachary? Like this angry voice comes back. Yes, Sheriff. We have some FBI agents here that I think you should come and talk to. What do you say to me, Zachary? And it's just this crackle. FBI about Jane Doe. They don't know her name. Zachary, take your thumb off the radio. Kind of, and there's just this conversation going on, and eventually the sheriff agrees to come in. And you can hear this thing because this police station is actually really small. As you go down the corridor, you pass 3 or 4 cells down one corridor, and then you feel the cold. And there's basically an ice room, is the best description. There's one slab in it, and that has the body laid out on it. There's very little else in this room. There's some very basic medical equipment. There's a doctor's bag. Dr. Harris is the name. It's a black leather doctor's bag that's been left on the side. There's a sink. There's a drain in the middle of the floor. Basically, this is the morgue. This is the place where they take, when people die in this town, this is where they end up briefly before they get sent off to go into a coffin, that kind of deal. It's very rare that they have a reason to have an actual body that is being investigated in here.
Maggie will go straight in, completely unfazed by this young woman's body on the slab, and walk over and have a look at it. She's looking to see what the bruises and the marks are. She's got the photo. She's put the case file down, but she's got the file that's got the description of her injuries, and she's just checking to see the consistency between the two, just from what she can see.
Okay, so she does have a sheet across her, and you kind of move it, and you see that the marks match very clearly the description in the file. It's no clearer on this body that, yeah, that's definitely the shape of a bumper, or yeah, that's the shape of this. It's just bruising. She's cold and she's rigid, and her thumb tag literally only has the date that she was brought in, which was 4 days ago. I misspoke earlier when I said weeks, that he'd been thinking about this. It's not been that long. About 4 days ago. And that's why you were in such a rush to get here, because this body was still fairly new. They didn't know what to do with it.
Maggie will probably grab, I'm assuming there's some gloves in this room, put a pair of gloves on and lift the eyelids gently to look at the eyes and see if they match the descriptions that we've been told of these strange eyes. While also she turns to, sorry, who else is in the room? This is Betty, Dr.
Nash at Apologian.
And did Chris come in as well? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm saying, so like while she's putting the gloves on, so what do you make of this so far then? I mean, everything seems to match up.
So Dr. Nash has gotten a little closer to the bruising. I hadn't had the chance to really look over the files that much over breakfast before we were, off and in the vans. So I want to kind of get a closer look at those. Anything I can discover by poking around?
Sorry, what was it you were looking for again? Exactly.
The bruising.
Breathing.
Do
Do you have medical knowledge?
I do.
Okay, so why don't you make me a medical roll?
Hard success.
Okay. So looking at this, you can tell from the bruising that it looks like whatever impacted her hit her hard enough to break at least 5 of her ribs. And probably would have gone on to puncture her lung. You can see like the extent of the bruising is so severe. It's basically blackened all of that side. And she definitely didn't die on impact. You can tell that she was alive for a while.
So as Maggie pulls back the eyelids, what do we see?
It's
Now that everyone's like closer in.
it's very strange and glassy, and the eyes are starting to kind of deform a little bit from being dead. But there's that blue, and it's almost as if they were painted. It's not like an iris should be, where it's kind of textured and different colors to it. This is a flat blue, like a perfect contact or something. And it's very pale now.
Have any of you ever seen this before? Is this a medical condition? Is this a result of a chemical?
I've seen the cloudiness in the eyes, and that was related to a rather inexplicable death.
The color. Eyes don't look like this.
Maggie, I'd like you to make a sanity check for me, please.
Is this to do with it being a corpse?
No.
What is this? Okay. That one. Hard success.
In the back of your mind, you hear, "Hello? Are you here to help me?" And that's where we will end today's session. Maggie, you need to decrease your sanity by 5 points, please.
Decrease it by 5.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, everyone in chat. I'm really sorry. I struggled to read chat and run a game, but I had a happy little scroll through. Thank you all so much for your help and your incentives. Greg, I believe we had some polls going on while the game was in play that I neglected to mention in my introduction. So much hurry did I feel to get into the game.
No worries, Charlie. The Legion has voted on 3 of our polls since we hit all 3 of them. The first one was for a care package, a boon for one of our investigators. That will be going to none other than the good doctor. Edelyn won the first boon, so that will be going.
Care package for Edelyn.
Care package coming in. The next one was to vote to have an immediate sanity loss based on the D4 to D20 of your choosing, Charlie. And I won that one. I'm so happy. I'm a winner, everybody. And the last one is a vote that can only happen during this poll. It is an increase in your current sanity. And Susanna won that one, as Betty is going to get a little bit back of her mind.
All right, so let's have a D10 loss for Chris.
Jesus,
and,
okay.
We'll have a D6 improvement for Betty. And Susie, why don't you tell me what bolsters Betty today?
I think on this particular morning, she spends a little bit longer than normal with her locket, looking at the picture within.
Okay.
And just taking that moment to just recenter and chill out.
Yeah, you had your time, you did your hair and your makeup, and you had
Yeah, that whole process of getting ready was like a slapping on some armor, getting ready for the day.
Okay. Perfect. And Dr. Rhonda Nash, I will let you know what your care package is next time, which will be next week, back here, 4 p.m. EDT, 7 p.m. UK, on Tales from the Grim. We do only run 2 hours, so it's an intense time. And Legion, you're amazing. I can't believe we hit all 3 polls. That's super cool. Greg, who do we need to shout out before I go around the cast?
Absolutely. We had Big Pig 50,000. Steve gave us some advantage. We had a big donation from Mal, who will be joining us as a guest star at some point. Only one more left this season, everybody, for the guest star. So if you are thinking about it, you know. Also, somebody named Donathan Free. Donathan Free put advantage for everybody. And then Black Cat Gaming gave us an advantage just for the shirt. So I'm sorry to say, Sam, that you don't get advantage. The shirt does. So whenever that comes into play for Charlie.
The shirt will always have advantage.
Mic dropped. Okay, so that's it. Yep.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. That's amazing. Why don't we go to the shirt? Let's go to Sam. What was your favorite part of today, what you're looking forward to in the future, where can we find you, and all of that good stuff.
My favorite moment was this kid not knowing what a Jane Doe is. I'm like, okay, great. Because I've presumably got to interview this kid next. So
awesome. Poor Zachary. Poor uneducated Zachary. Where can we find you? What are you up to?
I am one half of Black Cats Gaming, so you can find us at blackcatsgaming.com or follow the Black Cats on Twitter. You can also find me at RPG Webby pretty much anywhere on the internet, from Twitter to Twitch to Reddit, where we're running for you and the After the Fire Game of Thrones game. I was pointing at people, but no one really knew. For Susie's in it, Charlie's in it, V's in it as well. And we're playing Game of Thrones Tabletop, which is the Green Ronin system for A Song of Ice and Fire. And we are playing 100 years before the books, just after the first Blackfire Rebellion. And we're having an incredibly invested time in trying to figure out how to unscrew this house that we screwed in character creation.
So hard.
I'm also playtesting the Spy game every Sunday. It's today from 4 p.m. UK time or 11 a.m. Eastern. And that's for the Black Cats Gaming's first little indie published game, which is a modern 5e game all about spies, action, and espionage.
Yeah, so if you like this game, come and check us out earlier in the day when we dive into that in some 5e system. Co-conspirator in that, how are you doing, Virginia?
I'm doing all right. Yeah, so hi, I'm Virginia. You can find me over on Twitter at Tabletop Horde. But yeah, I get to play in awesome games with Sam, Susie, and Charlie. So yeah, doing After the Fire, where I play Mara Oakhart now. My character has just got married and narrowly avoided making enemies of a Targaryen princess.
Well,
well, it's going all right for now. Susie, I'm trying to save you, okay? So you can find me there on Thursdays for that awesome game that Sam is running. And you can also find me before this stream on Sundays playing a complete disaster spy technician for Sam's Black Cats Gaming, the spy game, which is really awesome, and you should come and check it out and follow them. Other than that, I also work at Modifius, so I make games as well with Sam. So that's also fun. But follow me on Twitter. That's where I kind of post about everything that I'm doing when stuff happens. But I know my favorite bit about today is somewhere between the kid not knowing what a Jane Doe was and Maggie getting to just stare down the guy who was like Clint, who was just being complete. I could see it happening, like Meta Virginia could see it happening. It was like, well, she's going to go over and try and help Robert out to kind of push these guys away. And the second he did, it was like, oh no, she's not having this. She's had this happen way too many times. She is done. But yeah, also that bit at the end. Oh, and I can't say why, but Charlie, you know why I'm excited by this. So excited by this, despite the sanity loss.
Our other co-conspirator, family member, the wonderful Susie.
Oh, hi. This is really, really good. Oh my god. I don't know what my favorite bit was. I feel like young Zachary, the idiot boy on the desk, no clue what was about to hit him. And just like everyone's kind of little quirks and personalities coming through. I really, really like that, how everybody has a little bit. But yeah, I am Susie, otherwise known as Susanna Grace. I am all over the internet at Susanna Grace. I am a variety streamer who does video games, art streams, and tabletop RPGs. You can find me here. You can find me on Encounter Roleplay. You can find me on Sam's channel. You can find me like everywhere. I'm like a plague. I just pop up. I'm just there.
Very hard to get rid of. Very stubborn Yorkshire plague.
Yep. Once I'm in, there's no getting rid of me. So hi, Greg, I'm here to stay.
Speaking of something I don't want to get rid of, can I introduce the wonderful Edelyn joining us here for the first time?
Oh, what a sweet introduction. Yeah, the first time. That's I was scared, guys. I was really nervous. But you all made it so much fun. Thank you. And Legion, thank you for being here on Mother's Day, no less. Thank you for taking the time and for being so supportive, because you all made it super fun too. And if you're sitting out there going, I don't know, should I do it? Can I do it? Yes, do it. Because, oh my God, it is so much fun. Charlie said, we're just going to have a good time and, play with our friends. And that's what we did. So thank y'all. I am Edelyn Parker, Edelyn Parker on Twitter. This is my one game, so come back and see me here. And in terms of favorite parts, I'm going to give a shout out to the MVP, Sergeant Zachary. He really did just sweep the game. Although, V, I will say that your interaction with Clint as well, I was like, yes, girl, get it. So two big moments, really fun, and I'm really looking forward to next week. Thank you.
And Greg, thank you so much for having us here today. Letting this madness happen.
This was amazing. This was great. I loved the character so much. Everything from the very beginning to the failed driving role that kind of set up everything with the hit into the animal that got us all outside, and that was such an awesome way to start this, because it was just the literal bang, and then you immediately got to see all of the characters in a tense situation during a storm, and that was my favorite part. I that and every moment after it, but that was, and then I really liked when Maggie opened the door for Susie. When I thought that was awesome. That was a great idea. So
Greg, I stole that bit from you in Zombie Outbreak.
It doesn't. What? It was awesome though. But yeah, well, now I know why it was awesome. No. So great. Can't wait to play. What a cliffhanger. Love the cliffhanger. Charlie, fantastic job. Legion, awesome. Follow the story. I loved it, Charlie. Loved it so much. Take us away, my friend.
Yeah, so thank you all so much for being here. We will be back here next week. Same time, same place, same awesome Legion. I'm at Frost from Fire over on the Twitters. You can find me there. Also check out at New of Amsterdam if you enjoy me DMing. We have the Lost Girls podcast coming up very soon. We're busy working on that with the wonderful Susie and Emma, and Kiana's involved in it. And who else is involved in it, Susie? Who am I forgetting? I'm forgetting someone very important. Lindy! How could I forget? She's going to murder me now. But yeah, all these amazing players. I'm so lucky every time to get such a cool cast to work with, and I can't wait to continue the sky chasing adventure with this wonderful crew and their box full of case files. So until next time, Greg, you can't roll nat 20s in the system.
Well, as the campfire goes down, there's only one thing left to say. You can't always keep your sanity, but you can always role play. We'll see you next time, my friends.